And because everything is digital, we're talking about you can share screenshots of pages and stuff if you want to a little more easily than flipping to the camera.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yep. Let's see.
So, howdy, folks out there, whoever's out there, for tonight's episode, throw me a number between 1 and 15 because I'll need it to do what I'm doing. So just give me a number between 1 and 15.
Yeah, I apologize for not getting the early notification up. I was a little busy today with work, and I was working from the house, which is always beneficial to me. But then I had to go to the post office and do some running around at lunch. So my lunchtime got easily taken up. So 62.
That's not between 1 and 15, dog. Although I can add those two numbers together and get a number.
Doop, 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 doop. Okay. I guess I'm good to go. Because this episode is going to be... We really don't have show notes for tonight's episode.
Nope.
There's really nothing that needs to be
cuff.
structured. Yeah.
Completely off the cuff. Do it 8.
So,
okay. 1, 2,
there.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is Sniper and Rook first. Okay.
Oh, wow. That's the one I have pulled up.
Is that one you were going to talk about?
Yeah, but we can talk about it. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, or do you want to spread it out and each of us?
I think it's a good idea. Well, I mean,
talk about more.
We could talk about more, but I think because you've read them all
Okay.
or read a large majority of them, that
Okay.
you can have some feedback on it. So
Okay, Sniper and Rook it is. So we'll talk about that. Winging It. That was a different podcast.
Yeah.
Did you ever listen to Winging It, Chris?
I don't know what that is.
It was a podcast by Michael R. Meningay and Evo Terra. They were related to Slice of Sci-Fi. Did you ever listen to that one?
Yeah, I know them. Yeah.
Okay, Winging It was their less structured talk about anything show.
Oh,
related to that. It was adjacent.
Makes sense.
Winging
Makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, what started happening, Slice of Sci-Fi, they started getting so many fans and they started getting so many quote unquote co-hosts that they couldn't stay on topic. So they broke off a completely different show to do that so that they could stay on topic on Slice of Sci-Fi and streamline it. Winging It was the show where they scheduled their yearly pool parties out in Tempe.
Nice.
And just they drank on there. They had a wake for one of their co-hosts that died on there.
Wow.
They just did. They lived. That was the people getting on microphone and living for an hour.
Yeah.
And
nice.
Yeah, it was an interesting show. If you liked the hosts, then it was interesting. If you didn't like the host, it probably would have irritated the shit out of you. But
you're like, okay, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, I know. I like you being serious. That's all I need.
Yeah.
So anybody else on the live chat? How many do you show on the live chat, Chris?
I've got a couple. There's Doug.
Doug S.
Doug's here.
All right. Doug, throw me a number between 1 and 15, dog.
So we have a plethora of comics to talk about tonight on the show. And so Ed's trying to narrow down his large stack just by having people submit numbers. And he's just going to... A number will correlate with a book. And
9. That was the next one on here. So who's that? That's Steam Patriots. Okay.
I didn't read that one.
So yeah, it was on the lower end of the list. Just put it that way. I don't want to be mean. OTS. Doug S. Doug, do you listen to Steven and I when we record the Superman Super Show?
Yeah, he's been in there the times I've dropped in.
I thought this last time you dropped in, Chris, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Doug, if it was you, I believe you told me that the Star Wars Visions book that I was harping on was based on the first episode of the Star Wars Visions animated Netflix series.
Yes.
Came out at the end of 2020.
Mhm.
I watched that first episode tonight because of you, Doug, saying that, and I appreciate that. I enjoyed the episode, but the issue of the comic book for me was much better than that TV show. So I was disappointed in that because I was looking forward to seeing, this concept that was 2D that I really dug in 3D in
Mhm.
animation. And it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same story. And I think that's what it was. It was the same art style,
Oh,
the
okay.
same setting, and everything like that. It had the same feel, but the story for me just wasn't as entertaining as the book. Now it was cool. The chick with the Sith with the umbrella that extended it and the
That
blade,
thing was
that
awesome.
was freaking awesome. But yeah, I still enjoyed the comic book more because it was more along the lines of Lone Wolf and Cub
Mhm.
slash Zatoichi, the blind masseur, or masseuse, I guess is what it is, mashup. And that's what the book was. And I dug the heck out of that. But thank you for that reference. I remember the series. I didn't pay any attention to it. I just my Star Wars fandom just kind of comes and goes. I'm watching Andor right now,
Oh, yes.
um, but I'm not reading any of the books. I read all of the books for I don't know the first 2.5 or 3 years, but then I think it got to be too much, and
Mhm.
I cut it all off. Right about the time they were getting ready to start up the new Darth Vader series and the new Afra series, and
Mhm.
about that time I was just like, okay, I'm I've had enough Star Wars, time to move on. So,
Yeah, I dug deep into the, Dark Horse stuff when they
oh,
were publishing it.
I
There
read a
was a
couple of their
lot there's a
books too.
lot of it.
Yeah, yeah.
I had boxes on boxes of just comics. It was just like my son was just like back when he was a kid, it was just like, "I wanna get read a Star Wars comic." "Alright, that box, and that box." You
Yep.
just have at it. So,
Yeah, the one that really grabbed me was the one about a descendant of Luke that was
yeah.
drawn by
Mhm.
Jan Duursma.
Yep.
Cade,
Cade,
was
yeah.
that his name? Cade Skywalker?
Yep.
Yeah, I read that series. That was about the only one that I read.
Yeah, that was pretty good one. I like that one.
Um, Still only 2 people in there, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
Well,
alright.
Terry and, Doug, both of you guys throw me out another number. Terry, you had 8, and Doug, you had 9. So you guys give me another number, and we will go.
Definitely pick and choose from a lot of the yes. It's too for me, I'm someone who does not consume a lot of, uh, TV and movies, um, on a regular basis, like, I can't sit down for a couple hours and binge watch a TV show. I mean, it's really, really painful for me, um, mainly because I feel like I have to be doing 12 other things, and so
Mhm,
I can't do that with everybody else because people watching it with me are, like wanting to watch the show. And so my brain is wanting to do, so many other things. But I will sit there and like, I haven't watched like all the Star Wars stuff that's on Disney Plus yet, but I'm going to try and watch Andor once it finishes this season.
mhm.
I'll probably get in there and watch, like one a night or something like that. That's what I did with Sandman.
Yeah, I think we actually, Terry and I think we've watched all of them.
Hmm.
We got a little bit behind, but we caught up on, Mandalorian and Boba Fett,
Yeah.
and then we watched, uh, not Qui-Gon, but, whatever the other Jedi show that was just on before Andor. Um, Ewan
Oh,
McGregor,
Obi-Wan, yeah.
Obi-Wan, yeah,
Yeah.
we watched
Yeah,
that
I
one.
really liked Obi-Wan. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't know.
As
I think
compared to the other shows that have been out that I watched, like Mandalorian, we love, like, the whole family will sit there and watch that.
mhm,
Boba Fett, we all watched it, but we're not super excited about it. It dipped, it kinda there's moments of it that we really liked and other moments we are just kinda a little bored with. Um But again, when you start with Mandalorian as sort of like your measuring stick, I
Mhm.
think that's
Ooh,
where a lot of people are sort of comparing all of these shows
yeah,
to.
that's a pretty high stick because
Yeah.
Mandalorian,
Yeah.
yeah. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I think between Mandalorian and Boba, I really enjoyed them because of the Western motif that
Oh,
both
for
of those
sure.
are eat
Yeah.
up with. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that aspect.
I only have so much time and I can consume what I
Well,
think I want.
yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
I know
I've
that feeling.
I watched the first episode of Andor and I'm very excited for the show, but the
Just
first
based on the
episode
first episode? Oh,
really
okay.
no, 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 no. I was just the
Yes.
concept of I'm a big fan of Rogue One. I really like that movie.
Yes, okay.
And so I was very excited about this uh version of Star
But
Wars.
he doesn't have his droid companion in this,
No, no, no.
and
But
that was really
that
disappointing.
that first episode was really slow for me. So I was like,
The
okay,
first
well,
3 episodes are really slow, dog.
that's
So,
probably why they put them
bu
all out the same day.
buckle in because
Yeah.
truly, it doesn't pick up until the 4th episode,
Okay.
honestly.
All right.
It does pick up. So,
Yeah. Okay.
as you're
Good.
finishing that 3rd episode, don't quit, hang
Don't
in there.
stay on board.
That's right.
Stay on target.
I'm gonna watch the next one. It's gotta get better. No, it doesn't. The 3rd episode is no, yeah,
Slowly get there.
really slow burn those first 3 episodes, but it does pick up with the 4th, and I thought pretty much maintains that or even gets even more so moving out. I think I've
Cool.
watched 7. I think I'm 2 behind and they've dropped 9 maybe, but
Yeah.
we're however many, we're 2 behind that we haven't
Okay.
seen, so.
Well, that's
All
cool.
right, I am ready to go
You
with,
ready to go?
Sniper and Rook first. Terry and Doug, thank you. I got your second numbers, and I may come back and ask you for a third number. So just have one in mind, but don't throw it out yet.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get this ball rolling
All right,
with episode 153
153.
in 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome back to Comic Addiction. This is episode number 153. I'm one of your co-hosts, Chris Partner. With me, as always, is Mr. Ed Moore. Ed, how are you?
I am talking Star Wars and looking up comic books based on numbers only. So it is fun over here.
That's that's the best way to do it. I guess. Maybe.
I
Maybe
who
not.
knows? You know.
It's it's a Thursday.
There
So
are no rules for this. That's
no,
all I can say.
no,
There
no.
are no rules.
Last episode was pretty laid back, pretty loose, and we're just going to continue that on here with this episode. So last episode we started looking into the G-Man comics line of books with Simon Kirby, the agent, the first 4 issues of that. We got a lot of good feedback, positive feedback, which was great. A lot of folks were checking it out, which is great. So thank you very much. If you've come back to check out the show again, thank you very much for returning. We're going to be doing something very similar with this episode, looking at the Silverline line of comics. Both the G-Man comics and Silverline are all Kickstarter based. As far as like how you can get them and things like that, both of them have websites and stuff that you can go to, Facebook pages, Twitter, and all that other stuff, so you can kind of keep up with when they're going to be releasing new stuff. So tonight, like so, we're going to be talking about Silverline comics. They were kind enough to send us quite a hefty stack of books via email, and so we've dove into a lot of those, and so we're not going to be talking about all of them. We'll talk about a good handful of them here tonight, and maybe we'll come back another episode down the road, talk about some more. Maybe when they get some newer books out, we'll talk about those as well. Same thing with G-Man. I know we've talked about coming back and talking about some more stuff about them. I know G-Man Comics has a new Kickstarter. What'd you say, in February? Is
February,
what
yeah.
they're talking about. So we'll probably do that. I think, and I've not reached out to Rick. He did say that he would like to come on the show and talk about it. Not a live show, but just we'd pre-record something and then post it. And then maybe we'll do that the closer we get to maybe that Kickstarter.
Okay.
Maybe maybe. I
Well,
don't know.
yeah,
We'll
I
talk
mean,
about it.
touch base with him, I guess, and see if
Yep.
he wants to do it that way or a fill in the gap because that's 4 months
Yeah, it's a long
between now
time.
and
Yeah.
then. So, I mean, you know,
Yeah. So a lot going on. So cool. So again, tonight we'll be talking about Silverline Comics. You can go to their website, silverlinecomics.com. They have a shop that you can click onto. It goes over to Indie Planet, and you can buy a bunch of their books.
lots
I
to
don't
choose from.
so there's a hefty
Yeah.
number of books. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but not all of the books, like Silverline Comics is not a shared universe across the board, is it?
Not that I saw really reading what I read today.
It
Um,
felt like there were some books did cross over one another
a
because there were
little
some
bit.
references,
Mhm.
but yeah, it was not nearly like G-Man Comics is definitely a shared universe.
Right, right.
They were very clear about that, and so some of the books that I read for Silverline had, like I said, some notation about reading some other books and stuff like that to find out about something. But that doesn't change anything. It's just for the number of books that they have out, um, you know, they're
And
all kind of
maybe
independent of one another.
it's just a reserve the right kind of situation. You know,
Sure.
they're
Yeah.
writing the story, and if they want to, they can, but if they don't want to, they don't have to, kind of,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what you run into with like Marvel now as
Hmm.
opposed to Marvel in the 60s.
Right. Yeah.
They do it now if they want to, but there's no inherent connection necessarily
Yeah.
anymore like there used to
Right.
be. And I kind of get the feeling, you reading these, most of them are contemporary, so
Yeah.
crossing over would not be a problem. But I don't know the stories. A lot of these, well, no, all of these books that we had were number one issues.
Yeah.
So I could see maybe with a number one, you're not necessarily going to want to
Sure. Yeah. For sure.
muddy the water, as it were. But in the writing of your 6 issues of your first story arc, maybe somewhere along the way it's advantageous to do it, and it will happen maybe. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
right now there's very little indication that all of these books are in the same universe, just a couple here and a couple there.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was fine by me. It
Yeah,
didn't
either way, I mean,
it didn't make the book for me any better or worse,
mm-mm,
if it would. But it was just, I it's one of those things. It's with publishers, it's very interesting sort of how they go about doing things. I mean, obviously Marvel and DC, very shared universe, Valiant's a very shared universe, cross gen and those kind of things. But then you definitely have companies that are just more about being a place to publish comics,
right.
so in this, for the most part definitely felt that way, which is good. That way you're not sort of accidentally shoehorning yourself into a spot.
Right, you don't feel like you have to, "Oh, I gotta buy this other
Yep.
book and this other book." It's like, "No, no, you don't. It's all
Yep.
right here in this one."
I do appreciate that a lot.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
because as a longtime collector of Marvel and DC and Valiant and Cross, all those books, I felt compelled to buy, as many of them as possible
right.
just to get because I'm a bigger story, I love the story. But you're right too, where a lot of the books these days in Marvel and DC aren't really requiring you or even making you consider picking up other books, other than just, house ads.
Mhm.
Who cares about that? So all right, so let's go ahead and get things started. Since you have already polled our chat with some books, I'll let you go ahead and get things started with
Okay,
us.
we're gonna start off with Sniper and Rook. Definitely want to thank Roland Mann. I believe, Chris, wasn't he the one that
Yes,
forwarded us or sent us the email?
that is
Um,
correct.
he is as far as Sniper and Rook is concerned, he's the EIC and publisher.
Hmm.
But when you go to Indie Planet and you look at the number of books, I think Roland may end up having written about half of those books that you see.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He has written a lot of the books for Silverline up to this point,
yeah.
but
The
he is
the
also the
man
EIC for
has
publisher.
that sort of touch of like, I've got something to say, and
Oh,
I'm
man.
gonna and this is how I'm doing it,
Yeah.
and that's, I mean, I can I'm almost envious of sort of that creative, uh, output.
It,
Like that. I mean, man, that'd be awesome to be able to crank out that much stuff.
you don't see it all that often nowadays. It's
Mm.
definitely an older school type of creative mind for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um, do you have this cover that you can throw up?
Oh,
Blech!
yeah.
Not like that, but I mean,
Let
you
me
know,
do that real quick here.
okay.
If I can slide this over
Okay, let
here.
me go through the creatives here while we're doing this. This is created, written, and lettered by John F. Mitek III, penciled, inked, grayscaled, and computer effects added by Gene Kelly. I don't think that's the dancer.
No,
And
no.
colored by Jeremy Kahn, with a special thanks to Matt Senior, I'll say. Looks like there were one, two, three covers, an A and a B, and a Kickstarter exclusive. Now, the reason I wanted to see this cover is the Sniper and Rook, the logo. I really dig that logo.
Oh, yeah.
I like that a lot. This is Rook. Um, the pendant that she is wearing will come up in the story. The fact that she has two different pistols will come up in the story. So this is actually a case where the cover actually has a bearing on the story. So
Yeah, it's nice.
automatically that makes the cover kind of weird as far as contemporary comics go,
Right,
you know?
yeah.
So it's like, wow, you mean that's giving me, yes, this is an idea of the art, the character, and something that happens in the story
Yep,
all combined.
it
So,
happens every once in a while.
and I don't know, let me see, look at the list here. This Gene Kelly, this is the A cover more than likely then by the according to the credits.
Yes, yeah.
So this looks like the A cover. Okay, so um we open the story not with Sniper or Rook, actually. We're at a planetarium in Chicago. Um I have been to a planetarium. I was born and raised in Chicago for 7 years. Um I've been to a larger planetarium in Chicago, but I don't believe it was called Adler. But there is something like this there. So um, makes me wonder if some number of these creators are actually from Chicago and they just
Mhm.
have they use what they know, like a
Oh,
lot of,
yeah, for sure.
particularly for art, like what a lot of creators will do. But uh, there is a dude who is trying to impress a lady here. He works at the planetarium and he's showing her around, and as he's showing her around, he's upping the cool factor on what he's showing her
Mhm.
until finally they get to a large telescope. And we cut from that scene to a scene that is involving Sniper and Rook, where they are being brought up to speed on an issue that will pertain to what they do. And this is a scene involving essentially the same scene we saw that the neutral couple saw in looking through the telescope, and that was an image of Saturn. Well, now we see that either at the same time or perhaps more recently, there's not really any connection in time between the two visions of Saturn. But now there is an armada of alien spaceships in orbit or 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 in the vicinity of Saturn. Now, we're told here in this briefing that based on where they are and what they have seen, they're able to work out where the ships are going. So that makes me think that they're not in orbit. They just caught a picture of them as they were passing nearby because
Yeah,
they happen to be looking at Saturn and
yeah.
over here down at the side. Oh, look, what's this? Zoom in there. Oh, kind of thing. Um, the Armada is seen to be approaching Earth. They plot out a time. Of course, you don't know really. I guess you could know what side of the planet they're approaching, and given the time, you would know where they are over when they get into the vicinity of Earth. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess you could plot that, but that doesn't really come up. Um, Here, Chris, there's a reference on, I don't know, page unnumbered, that says "See Sniper and Rook, Volume One, Number 6."
Right.
I couldn't find another volume,
I did look for that as well, and I couldn't
so I
find it.
don't know. I don't know if that is a Silverline or like cat and mouse. Is that somewhere else? I don't know
Yeah.
what that refers to, but 6. So hopefully that means there's a 1 through.
Yeah.
So if someone would be interested in this book, there's another volume out there. Suppose Mr. Man could tell us, what that reference is, where that comes from. So Sniper and Rook are brought up to speed. I don't remember that they were given actual real names because I don't believe names were mentioned
Yeah,
as they were
I
being
don't think there
briefed.
were. Yeah.
It was just they, who we later find out that's who they are.
Yeah.
And the general, I'm not even sure that General XYZ is named. No, Rebecca.
Uh,
So Rook's name is Rebecca, we find out.
oh, yeah, 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 I see
Let me
that.
see that. And it took me a minute in the book to figure out that Sniper was the dude and not her, but Sniper turns out to be the dude. Although Rook is usually a guy, usually
Yeah.
takes the name Rook. So I don't know how that works out. But so they're briefed. They need to go and see Dr. Herman Daniels for more information because he has information about aliens and spaceships and the such. So they go out to actually, the title of the book kind of gives you an indication of what, or the title of the story. Let me go back here so I read it. Area 50, what is the name of the story? So that that would tell you what they're going to deal with to begin with or allude to, anyways. So they go to Area 50, what? And I believe they actually say it's Area 51 in the book. And what they find is a large cement building with a chain link fence and razor wire around it, and a guard's tower outside at one corner, outside the
Mhm.
razor wire.
I was like,
Okay.
this is not the Area 51 that we're accustomed to.
No, no, this is definitely one that they much more want to keep on the down low.
There, I found volume one was from Beta 3 Comics. Um, and it is a purely black and white book. Back
Oh, okay.
in May, first issue came out May of 1999.
Oh, where'd you find this?
It's on comicbookrealm.com. I just
Oh,
did a
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not like on Lone Star or something like that. Yeah.
No, no, no.
So
This is and this actually tells you Comic Book Realm is more of a uh, pricing guide thing,
almost like Comic Geeks kind of thing.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Beta 3. I have
Usually,
never heard of that
they've
company.
been around for that site's been around forever. So I was like, well, let me because I don't have
Oh,
Comic Book DB anymore.
yeah.
So this is always the one I go to next.
May
So
they rest in peace.
yes.
Yeah, we're gonna buy them and bring them back, and they
No, you're
did, but
not.
it sucks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you bought it and pooched it. Yeah, is what you did there. Alright, so Sniper and Rook are here. There is actually a guard in the guard shack, and the guard is rather brusque with them. So, of the 2, um, Rook turns out to be, or Rebecca, however you wanna refer to her, turns out to be the much more brusque of the 2. Brusque
Oh, for
brisk
sure. Yeah.
brusque? I'm not sure if I'm using that word correctly. Um, Ultimately, though, the guard lets them in because they give some access code. Access code Zeta Zeta Beta Alpha 19er. Okay, or I'm sorry, that is an unlimited access code, is what Sniper says. So with that, the dude opens the entry, and the entry is outside the fenced in area as well. So the fencing and the little bit, it has nothing to do with anything. It's
Yeah.
merely a prop by the
Yes.
looks of it. The guard tower is outside, and the entrance to the base, which of course is underground, is outside. So they go down. The base is looking kind of ill used, or not used for very long.
Hmm.
The doctor that they're sent there comes and gets them, gathers them up, and brings them to wherever he's doing his research. He seems to be the only one in the base, as far as we know.
Yeah.
So he brings them up to speed on some things, throwing in some real life, real world examples that end in fictional uh, uh, culminations of the story. uh, this animal going up by this space agency, this country's space agency early in the space race. What happened? Then this country sent this animal, and so there are fragments of the truth and a lot of exaggeration to
Mhm.
fill out this story here. But the onset of the space race, up until one would assume the reference is Roswell. That's my assumption. They don't say where this spacecraft came from. I be, because I'm a UFO, ancient aliens geek about stuff. Uh, this is where my mind went, was Roswell.
Mhm.
I don't know. Um, but they have a ship, and he's been researching it. And this ship turns out to be identical to the ships that they saw approaching from the orbit of Saturn in their telescope slash satellite images.
Mhm.
So that's why the general sent them, because here is a man that has been researching the exact type of vehicle that we see here. So he gives them very little actionable information. It just seems you would almost get the feeling that this doctor is like a sleeper agent of the aliens, because
Oh, yeah.
he's not giving them any actionable information. It's just all this fluff. It feels like
It's like, how vague can you be?
purposefully, continually. I mean,
Right.
it's
Well, the funny thing about it is when I was reading it, I was just kinda like, "This seems pointless."
uh,
Like, it's just like, why is he just like, the whole point of them being here, but like you said, it feels like it was almost on purpose
uh-huh.
to be that way because even they're kinda like, "Really? Why are we here?"
Yeah. And now stuff does happen, so
Yeah,
I think it's just the nature of the storytelling. I don't think
maybe.
that the story itself is supposed to be leading us to believe that. I think it's
Okay.
just the nature of the writing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Now we do see some characters here that are earthly. Actually, these guys strike me looking like Komodo dragons.
Yes. Yeah.
He said that they were in the vicinity of the spaceship, which, if this was Roswell, is completely impossible. It's my understanding Komodo dragons occur at one place on Earth, and that's it, other than zoos,
Well,
occur
these
naturally.
are, the Gia monsters is
Gila
what
monsters.
yeah,
Okay, now
Gila, yeah,
that could be. They're all over the American Southwest, but
yeah.
they look like Komodo dragons to me.
Yeah, I mean, they're huge, yeah.
Yeah, so they will play a part later on. By the way, I wrote them off. I thought it was comic relief for the
I thought
longest
it was
time.
strange, but yeah, I just kinda like, "Alright, this is,
Yeah, and
uh"
it the more of these books that I read throughout the day, because this was the first one um, that I read. I don't know why, but as I read further in the books that we had, thinking about this, I thought more and more, well, this was just the writer trying to be comedic. As I looked
Right,
back,
yeah.
now it is used, but so uh, again, I think what we're seeing is just writing style.
Mhm.
The doctor then shows them a bank of weapons, of personal weapons that were gathered. A lot of weapons off of this ship. A lot of the same weapons, right? These two daggers, these two pistols, they're
Yeah.
identical. So to me, that means that there should have been at least two crew members on the ship.
Mhm.
He didn't say anything about finding any aliens on the ship. So um, they're looking at the weapons. He won't let them get any of the weapons. There's aliens coming. We have alien weapons, and you won't let us use the alien weapons to defend it. Yeah, okay.
You you're not gonna need those.
It's I mean, it's just
You'll
yeah.
be fine.
It's like, dude is a plant. He's gotta be. Um, so then we get to just a little bit of comedic shenanigans here. They move on in the base. The doctor then takes them to a conference room where he's going to sit them down and give them some hard information. Not
Mhm.
that he hasn't had the chance, talking about the spaceship,
For
talking
sure,
about the
yeah.
weapons. No, we're gonna go over here, and I'll really give you what you're looking for. It's like,
Well,
we've been here for hours.
it was almost like the guy at the planetarium, or not the planetarium, the with the telescope at the beginning of the issue. It was kind of like, here, I got a lot of things I want to show off before
Mhm.
we get to the nitty gritty. And I was like, I kind of use that. That I don't know if that was the way it was supposed to be written, but I kind of told myself, I was like, this is just him showing off before we get down to business, I
Uh,
guess.
and, looking back at it, this doctor kind of reminds me of the, crazy doctor that Data played in
Oh,
Independence Day.
I thought the exact same thing.
Just that scatterbrain, he's so
Yes.
excited that somebody wants to see, and, "Oh, look
Mhm.
at this, and look at that," and yeah, it's,
Yep.
um so here he goes to get some more information, leaves them in the conference room, and we see that Rook breaks out the medallion that she wears,
Mhm.
that we saw her wearing on the cover. Turns out it's an alien pendant. So it will immediately here play a part because she uses it to to conference in uh, the alien that gave it to her, because in the previous volume they ran into some other aliens, and I guess that's why they're working this case, is because,
Yes.
well, no, he
Yeah.
says that because they are their alien experts
Yeah.
because of that last issue of the previous volume. So
Mhm.
which, interesting that that's all it takes, something weird
Well,
happened and it was
they're the
aliens,
experts
but
in supernatural and extraterrestrial. I was like, "Wow."
wow, kind of like the X-Files, Mulder and Scully,
Yes.
although they're not like Mulder and Scully at
No,
all.
not at all.
But she uses this medallion to touch base with her alien friend, and it turns out the alien friend is not available. But an alien who is house sitting for the alien friend while he's on vacation is available. And
Which
so
made
that's who
me
she contacts.
I laughed out loud when that
Oh, it
happened.
was, yeah.
I was like, "Really?
So
Okay."
the pendant is tied into some device at the alien's house rather than the alien himself. And so that's what she, when she quote unquote calls, that's what she gets, is just the house. And yeah, this dude who handles it well, he's
Oh, yeah.
probably never seen this alien race before, but he's like, "Oh yeah, he's on vacation." She's like, "Well, do you know, about
Right.
this or this?" And he's like, "Well, I do know this, and that's about it." Yeah, it's just like, it's like here, right? You have a best friend and you call and he's not at home, but his stoner buddy is there and he's
Right.
willing to talk to you because he's just stoned and he's like, real friendly right now. And he's like, "Oh yeah," that's kind of what this was like.
Yep.
It didn't help that the alien was smoking, but yeah, I got the feeling of the stoner buddy that just picks up your
Mhm.
phone even though it's not his phone. Yeah. So now we start to see a little bit more of the comedic relief. The lizards that we saw earlier apparently have gotten out of the cage and are wanting in the room with them, or to engage them somehow, talk to them or something. Kind of like a dog or a cat would. And they're treated that way. "Oh, go on now. You don't need to be in here." And they close the door. They continue talking to the alien dude, and he gives them some information. Um, the lizards try to get in the room again, and they're barred from entry. This time, the first time you saw one lizard, now you see two lizards. So now something is up with the lizards in the room with Sniper and Rook. The lizards were found where the ship was found. Something is
Mhm.
going on here. Continue the conversation. Finally, the dude gives them some background based on the weapon, primarily the weapon that she shows, because she snatched one from the weapons that were found in the spaceship.
Mhm.
Um, Sniper distracted dude like a referee at a wrestling match, and Rook stole one of the guns while the ref's back was turned. And he recognizes it, this alien, and tells them about the Khan race, Kon, uh, not the same as Star Trek's Wrath of, not that Khan. Um, and actually, for those of you that are big Trek fans, if you've watched this most recent series with Anson Carter, Anson, whatever the captain's name is. He was on Discovery, I believe,
Hmm.
as the captain of a ship, and now he was Commander Pike. I'm sorry, he
Oh,
was
okay,
Commander
yeah.
Pike on Discovery, and he is the captain on the new series as they're following Pike right when Kirk joins.
Mhm.
Star Trek. Uh,
Oh, it's like New Discovery or just not I forget what it's
Terry
called.
Doug. Throw up the name of that new show with Anson. What's his name? Who was the sheriff on Hell on Wheels, the HBO
Oh,
show.
that's true, yeah, I totally forgot he was there.
Yeah, that's where I recognized him from
Yeah.
was that.
Although
Um,
he's also Black Bolt from
yes,
Marvel,
from
so
Inhumans, which
yeah.
which we watched also, and I liked for what it was.
Strange
But
New Worlds?
yes,
There you go.
Strange New Worlds. Thank you,
Thanks,
Doug.
Doug.
I knew somebody'd know. Um, this con is spelled Kon, and they look like upright walking triceratops.
Mhm.
That's the not overly alien. Um, let's see. No, the Khan is a different race because the Triceratops are who is being talked about in this example, because the Khan are a race of aliens like locusts. They come in and consume, and what they
Mhm.
can use as part of that consumption, they use, and what they can't use, they cast off. So if it's technology that they don't have, they absorb it. If they already have it, then they just forget about it. So that's how they advance, is by incorporating the new and
Yeah,
just leaving out what they already have access to.
yeah.
That's the con, not the Triceratops race. In the midst of the story, well, actually, by the end of the story, the lizards finally gain entrance to the room by blowing the door.
Yeah.
And now we see that they are typically upright bipedal creatures, much like the Badoon from the Marvel Universe.
Mhm.
And they are camouflaged in green and an accessory color. So there are three lizards, and each of them is green and an accessory color. One is green and purple, one is green and orange, and one is green and a real light green or maybe a yellow. Now, why all three of them have different markings, I don't know. If they're the same race, that doesn't really make sense to me. And we see that they have killed the doctor, presumably killed him in this scene when they first appear. But we find out, I think, a little bit later in the story that they did kill him.
Mhm.
So now Sniper and Rook are having to fight off these aliens, these grown lizards, assuming that they have become active because their brothers and sisters are approaching. And we find out from the aliens, who can speak our language, but different because the word balloons are different. Um, although I will point this out because I don't understand this either. Each word balloon is black, filled in
Yeah.
black, but the colors of the words are different for each of the aliens when they speak. That color does not match their camo marking, but it is different for each alien when they speak. I don't know why that was necessary. Is that an accent? Oh, hey, sexfind.info. Thanks.
Ugh, jeez.
Yep.
Yep, blocked. Sorry.
Cruising YouTube looking for something to drop.
Uh,
So, Sniper and Rook are it's kind of a running gun battle here. We see that
oh,
maybe Rook is a little bit better at this physicality, or at least they use Sniper as a foil to heighten tension in the story by being the one that is trapped, is injured, is defeated by the enemy first and has to be rescued, of the two, all of those things, and it seems to be him. I, and they all happen to him. He's beat up, he gets injured, and has to be rescued. So the story basically ends when they have defeated the three alien. Actually, they've killed all three of the aliens, and they're there together, Sniper and Rook, to figure out what to do next. And the outer door to the facility gets broken in, and you can see, yeah, you can see something back there, but you don't really know what through the hole that is
Mhm.
being broken in the doors. Of course, we're going to assume it's other alien creatures, but it are lizard creatures, but it may be something different. Maybe another race. It's a maybe the alien. What would it be? The alien race is multiple species put together. I think race and species, or the other way around. However, that would go. And that's where we end. We have a couple. We have another cover. What is this? A cover for 2? No, it's the B cover, I guess, or maybe the Kickstarter cover for A. And that's where we finish up with a couple other covers.
Yep. Give me 1 second here. I have accidentally, in my haste to block the other
Uh-oh,
folks, I
Doug. Sorry,
accidentally
dog.
blocked Doug. so,
Sorry, man.
so I'm trying to. I've never had to unblock somebody on StreamYard before, so I'm trying to figure out how to do it. So I
Doug, sorry,
apologize.
man.
Give me a second because I don't want to lose Doug.
Friendly
Uh,
fire.
yeah, I
If you
was.
can even hear us. I don't know if you can hear us.
Oh, might need to. Let me DM him real quick just to say, hey, we're just give me a second.
I wondered where he went, says Terry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
he
that was my fault. Very sorry. We
Oh, for you podcast
blocked
listeners, this
you.
is hilarious.
Yes, sorry about that, folks. I don't know. Maybe we'll leave this in. Sorry, I accidentally blocked you. I'm fixing it. Yep. So yeah, that's what I was doing while you're sitting there talking. I was like, oh crap. Let's see. I have to do this thing and go to this setting. It says go to
You have to find their
accounts.
channel, click the
Uh
flag in the upper right, and choose unblock.
oh, I wonder if it's tied directly into YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah, see, I'm going through StreamYard,
Yeah,
so
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is YouTube.
let
Find their
me.
channel, click the flag in the upper right, and choose unblock.
Yeah, just give me
Okay.
1 second. I'm gonna try not and inception this. There we go. So Doug. Oh gosh, how am I supposed to do that? Because it won't let me. Let's see. Navigate to your profile page, which I did. Go to settings, which I did. Go to block list. It doesn't have a block list. Um, Again, I apologize, everyone who are watching us live. This is not a thing I want to. I don't want to block people by accident. I need to get. StreamYard is a little delayed when you block somebody, and so as I'm clicking on the spam account that was trying to infiltrate our chat, I it delayed, and so
Right.
I
Yeah.
clicked on his instead. I was like, "Oh no, that's not right." So, but yeah, I can't get to his name to.
myaccount.google.com/blocklist.
Let's see.
Would it be
My
there?
Say that again. My account dot.
One word, myaccount.google.com/blocklist.
Let's see.
See and manage the Google accounts that you have blocked, since YouTube is a Google product, maybe.
Oh, and that's why it's not letting me do that because I am. Nope. Give me a second. Like all my accounts, none of this is pulling up his name.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for his name in a blocked account.
Right. Right.
And none of these have him blocked. So that's why I'm
Okay.
just trying to figure out how I was blocking him. No block. Everything is no block users.
How to unblock someone on YouTube. From the YouTube homepage, tap your account avatar at the top right and then click YouTube Studio in the drop down menu. But you're not on YouTube Studio, are you? You're on StreamYard.
Uh, yeah, I'm on StreamYard, but it is, and that's the issue. Let's see. I good lord. Let's see. Going to switch my account to this one. Go to Studio. Yeah, using StreamYard. That's the thing I've learned here. StreamYard's great except for how it communicates. And then it kind of gets a little jacked.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, so what did you say? Go to Studio and then go to what?
In the navigation pane on the left, tap Settings.
Uh-huh.
The Settings window should appear.
Yep.
Go to Settings in YouTube Studio to see users who have been blocked. Click Community.
Oh, okay. There we go.
In the Hidden
Oh,
Users
there he
section,
is. There he
locate the
is.
person you want to unblock and tap the X to remove from the list.
And he is. There we go.
Okay,
Good.
Doug, if you can hear us, dog, comment so we know that you're cool. I mean, we know that you're cool, but
Yeah, we know. He said accidentally. He said, I can still watch. Okay. I fixed it. There we go. Yeah, I'm DMing him on Twitter. But he's been able to watch us this entire time and laugh at us, probably. So watch Chris as he flounders. There he is. He's
am
back.
I back? You are back. Hey, Doug.
Yay, Doug. Sorry about that, dude.
Captain Triggerfinger over there. We gotta.
Well, you know, when you got sex find, you know, trying to say, hey, you want some porn? I'm like,
we don't want to kick off 50% of our listeners. I mean, that's
yeah,
that's a pretty big percentage. Yikes.
Goodness gracious. Okay, now we can get back to talking about books.
All right.
So what'd you think about the issue though? At the
I thought it was fun. It definitely was a little bit lighter in feel. I think the writing.
Yeah.
No Man Left Behind. Our long national nightmare is over. Yes. The art. I thought the art was. It leaned in the more to the more cartoony side, I think, rather than the more realistic side. Although I hesitate to call something cartoony because I think a lot of people may think that as a pejorative, but I just, to me, there's two ways. There's realistic art and there's not. And how to describe not realistic art always is tough for me because there's this whole spectrum of not realism.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, I mean, for me, the art was definitely, it's not, the structure of it is all solid. Like there is
it was good art.
Solid, you know, storytelling, solid, you know, scenery, panel layout's great.
Everybody looked different.
Everybody, that's a huge thing right there. I mean, character designs were fine. As far as like anatomy and those, like all of that's fine. It's not my personal favorite kind of art.
No,
but
not mine either.
It is not. But in saying that, it's not, like you said, it's not bad art. It's solid art. I mean, everything is there that you need.
Yeah. There were good feet. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah. There are some.
Gotta harp on the feet.
There's some panels. There's some panels. Well, when you got to set a bar, I mean, you can either set it really high. You can set it Mandalorian, or you can set it no feet. So
feet. So Captain Chesticles.
You don't set anything up to Mandalorian. We gotta go. Put the bar low.
Man.
But there are a lot of panels in here. He's not listening. There are a lot of panels in here that were really good, and then there's some that were not so much. But none of them I felt like were bad by any stretch.
Right.
Just, you know, it's the art's not my favorite, so it's all good, you know. But again, it's, you know, I think it's a well done book. I think the craft is definitely there.
for sure.
It just didn't, hit all the bells and whistles that I look for and stuff. But I was entertained. I mean, that's the thing. I
Well,
think,
it kept you in it all the way, right?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it
So,
definitely. When I got to the whole, lizard people and everything popping up, like, part of me is like, well, I should have seen that coming,
really, yeah,
and
I'm like, yeah.
so there was that which I liked. I should have was like, oh well, that yeah, I mean that makes sense because no one was on the ship and there were a bunch of you know lizards running around, so I probably
And
should have
here are
put
the
that
lizards that were running around. We got them
right.
just in
Yeah.
case. I
So it's like
yeah,
they
brilliant.
weren't on the ship, were they? Maybe were they pets? No, those are the people.
Yeah, yeah.
So all of that, but yeah, I mean, I like the issue. I liked it well enough that I would definitely read the next couple
Mhm.
issues just to
So would
kind
I.
of to
Yeah.
see where things go. I mean, and I think at the end of the day, if you're
And
wanting
with
to
that
read more,
said,
it did the service.
let me look here.
Oh, do they have more? They've
No,
got to have more issues.
there was just one issue
Oh wow.
over on Indie Planet. This one only
Yeah.
had one. So
So I was looking at the indicia. It does not say a year
none of
anywhere.
these say a year,
Oh, okay. Well, that would definitely be
but
that would definitely help me out.
the oldest Kickstarter that I saw that Roland did was 2015.
Oh wow.
Um,
Jeez.
Silverline, though, I thought has only been around since 19. So with that in mind, I think they're all a couple years old or less
Yeah.
at
Okay.
most.
So, well, hopefully, like I said, keep an eye out, see if there's more issues of this. I mean,
Mhm.
um, the older stuff, I mean, that stuff's probably a very low print run. I
Oh
think
yeah,
Comic Book Realm was showing auctions on eBay that had, at least a couple bucks for each issue. Like the first issue was like $10 or something like that, so um, it was definitely, um, a little harder to find, but yeah, I definitely would want to read some more of this. So, all right, let's see. A book I want to talk about is Divinity #1.
okay.
So this one's created by I'm probably gonna butcher these names. Uh Barb Kalberg, and plot by R.A. Jones and Barb Kalberg, script by R.A. Jones, pencils by Alex uh Sarabia, inks by Barb Kalberg, letters by Mike W. Belcher, colors by Steve Matson with Sage Matson, and editor Wes Locker. Actually, I follow Wes and I are on LinkedIn together. I was like, I
Well,
know that name.
cool.
So that's from way back in the early days. Um,
Now,
so
Divinity
yeah,
had 2 issues on Indie Planet.
issue 1 and 2.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, we said 2. I was thinking maybe 2 and 3. So this particular book uh, primarily is about um, a young girl and her older half brother, who is a Marine. She is probably what in the
4 or 5.
10. Oh, is she that young? You think
I
so?
think she's only 4 or 5, yeah.
Okay. So she's pretty young. They're uh they're let's see, is it her mother and their father? Is that what it I think yeah,
I
because her
think so,
mom
yeah.
he
It's
said his mom died when he was young. So yeah.
right, yeah, different
So
moms.
the father remarried. So and the reason I sort of put that put that in perspective is that there's a number of times in this issue where the brother makes it very clear that she's his half sister when
Yes.
people and to the point where it's sort of
He
rude and ridiculous.
Yeah, he seems brusque at times, but times not, and
Yeah,
I couldn't get a grasp on how he really felt about her
yeah.
because he swiveled, from not bad
it,
extreme, but from one extreme to the other,
it
like
was
her,
I
don't
almost
like
felt
her.
he's bipolar.
Almost,
I
yeah.
mean, it was sort of ridiculous. So at the beginning, so at this issue, we find that their parents have died in a car accident, and he has been discharged from the Marines because of this, in order to take care of his half sister. And she has, unbeknownst to him, has the ability to heal. uh, and so at the beginning of this issue, she, this dog is, injured, dying, or whatever, and so she goes and sits next to him and grabs hold to him and says that I can make you feel better, and then her eyes start to glow, and then the dog's good to go. And so we find out that her parents knew about this ability that she has, that she's actually used it on her mother to help her. um and they told her, to kind of keep it quiet, don't share that with anybody, just for protection, really. I mean, it definitely sounded like that she had, her heart was in the right place, her mom's heart was in the right place, just they didn't want anybody to come after her. Well, she ends up helping a neighbor who is very friendly to her and everything, who just happens to have what seems to be a very uh deadbeat son. And so he sees her heal the dog. And so or excuse me, she heals the neighbor at some point before her parents die. And so she's under the impression that she may have told her son that. And so but he sees her later on, after the parents die. She's out in the front yard and she heals his dog. Her brother sees it too, sort of freaks out a little bit, and then brings her in the house, starts to talk to her and stuff like that. So um he is, much like you said, very back and forth about how he treats her.
Yeah.
Um, at the funeral, he's very uh, mean to her. Like, she reaches to hold his hand, and he just like jerks it away from her. And then someone, comes up to him afterwards and is like, you and your sister, and he's like, it's my half sister. And they're like, oh well, you know how are you going to handle things? And he's like, I don't know, we'll figure things out. And then when they get back home, everything seems to be okay. Like,
Yeah.
he's just like, oh, I don't know, very upset. And they're comforting one another and sort of talking about it and everything. But then, like, the next scene, he's back to being, a pain in the ass. And it's just kind of like, all right. I mean, it feels like this is a character trait that, maybe at some point will actually be explained, because it's so drastic. It almost feels like it's not just an error in writing. Like, there's a purpose to that. I could be wrong. I mean, again, we're kind of basing all of this stuff off of one issue.
Right.
But so that's kind of the gist of it. The end of the issue is him deciding, okay, we're possibly in danger. I don't know why he comes to that conclusion so quickly, because it's like she explains what happened, and then he is worried. Oh well, because the people at the bar. I kind of forgot about that.
The people at the bar, but also I think because he's suspicious over the death of his parents also.
Right, because he does a little
S
investigation of that, and he definitely seems like there's
Yeah,
something being hidden.
yeah, so it's like, this kind of freaks me out, and then this kind of freaks me
Mhm.
out, and then and so it's just, it seems to be this chain of things that's just raising the hairs on the back of his
Yeah,
neck until he's just like,
and
"Man,
he
something
just
is
like
wrong. We gotta go."
he throw like yeah, and it's like he doesn't prepare her. Like,
Mm-mm.
you have a child, which he's been in the military this whole time. He's doesn't know her that well, and obviously doesn't want to know her that well. But does not prepare her for the, okay, we're going to need to leave, or we're going to need to do this and this because of these reasons. It was more like throws her backpack at her and like, fill it up, let's go. And it's just like, this is a child you're talking about. You need to
Yeah,
be a
it's
little more, you know, aware of
work
who you're dealing with.
work into things a little bit.
Yeah. So she's kind of freaking out and all this other stuff. But anyway, the issue ends with a trio of armed, uh what look like military,
Mhm.
maybe, because they're all in green and flak jackets and all that. But you know, in the home, and so something, obviously someone has tipped them off to either him, to her, to what's his investigation of what's going on. But it definitely escalates quickly, and just a lot happens in one issue.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
this whole issue is just breakneck speed
and
and
it's a
as
very
far as
short period
story.
of time, story time,
Oh yeah.
that it occurs too, like probably just a couple days.
Yeah, it doesn't fit. Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 days at the most.
Yeah,
So it was definitely breakneck speed. So I can kind of get the sort of anxiousness that he feels, that is like, okay, we need to do something. We need to get out of here. And again, I would assume sort of his military training sort of kicks into gear too.
right,
So he's like, maybe need to get some space between them and what's going on, just so he can get a clear head about things and put together a plan. Um, but it's definitely clear that his poking around to what happened to his parents, because they end up or killed in a car wreck, and the wreckage of the car is taken to a scrapyard, and the vehicle is, without his knowledge, is immediately sold for scrap. You
y
know,
yeah, well, yeah, it was crushed.
crushed,
It was
yeah, and then
yeah,
sold.
so it was scrapped immediately. No, contact the family, see if there's
Yeah,
anything there that they want. No, no, it came, it was scrapped, and that was it.
and he luckily knows somebody who works there, who saw him and told him, oh yeah, when I got here there was like a really big hole in the front, which seemed a little odd. And so, oh, okay, well, there's that going on. And then he's at the bar later on that evening, talking to the bartender, and these guys show up who are definitely not from around there, who know who he is, know he's in the military and all this
Right,
other,
yeah,
and just start picking a fight with them. And he takes them out with, not didn't seem like that much effort. But he's also noticing that there's a police car that's either at the house or following him for the most part. And so he's like, what the heck is that about? So yeah, there's all these little bits and pieces. So obviously there's a bigger story that's being told here,
mhm,
or being set up in this issue. And again, you get a lot. I mean, there's only 27 pages in this issue, and some of that is the opening, you know, is some credits. And so you're not getting a whole lot of, I mean, you're getting a good amount of pages for the story, but a lot goes on pretty quick. And so I do sort of appreciate the attempt to really give you a lot of the reader a lot of information, give you a lot of setup for things to come. But I felt there was a little, almost a little too much. Like I needed as a reader to sort of understand a little bit of what his issue is with her. Like, there's absolutely no explanation other than the fact that he lost his mother at a young age, and instead of trying to use that to sort of help her along, he just immediately just, you know, maybe he's just not good with kids. I don't know. Maybe he's just a jerk in general. Who knows? But yeah, so based off of the cover of this particular issue, it's definitely, and I'll throw it up here if you give me 1 second. Um, the cover here, like, this is our lead. That she seems a bit older than 5 or 6.
that's, Vinny,
This is Vinny. Her
and
name's Divinity, which is the name of the book, but they refer to her as Vinny.
then the
Um,
dude, her brother
and
is
that's her.
Zach.
Yeah, and then we don't know who this
Yeah,
is yet.
I have no idea who
So
that is.
obviously, there's more to what's going on here. She'll eventually be introduced, Um, but yeah, so I th- it's one of those things. I like the concept of it, and it's not that the execution is bad. It's just I felt like there was a whole lot going on, and I personally needed it to sort of slow down a little bit. But when I got done, kind of looked back. I was like, oh, well, this wasn't like 48 pages or anything like that. This was done in less than 30 pages, and so it's one of those. I definitely feel like I got my money's worth, kind of thing. It's I've read too many books that have come out in the last couple of years that there's so little. The first issue is super light.
Slow
It's
burn.
like, here's a lead character, and the book's over. And it's just like, okay, thanks. This you obviously go way more than that. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm a little mixed on it right now.
Uh, I I I definitely feel what you feel about his attitude towards his half sister.
Mhm.
It didn't bother me quite as much. I think it or bother it didn't tweak my brain like it did you because so much was happening so quickly that tension is what I felt. That is
Eh,
what really
yeah,
grabbed my attention was
yeah,
the tension of all of these odd things. Now, there could be things that we noticed because of the art that he didn't even notice yet that even added to it.
right.
Things in the background that we saw that he wouldn't
Mhm.
have seen. But it did seem a very, very tense book until almost at the end when you see those laser sights on his chest.
Mhm.
And I wondered immediately why the predator was after him. That's exactly
Vroom, vroom.
because the predator has that three-prong
Yep.
sight, and I was like, "What's it?" Otherwise, those 3 dudes have a tight bead on him.
Oh, for sure.
We don't know how far away they are. They all have the weapons shouldered. Yeah, yeah, all of the weapons are
Yeah.
shouldered, but the grouping on his chest is so tight. I was like, "The predators, wow!"
Well,
Because they're in a triangle, but
I
yeah.
don't like the idea of these guys busting in and all you hear from them is "Light them up, boys." I'm like, that's not even a gunfight. That's like we're entering the house to kill everyone like
Yes.
instantly. I
Yep,
was
him
like, oh,
first.
okay, this is not going to end well. So obviously it does. There's more issues, but it's definitely well. Okay, so and I didn't notice this until just now.
Okay,
So if you look back in the page before that, before the
mhm,
guys show up,
okay.
they're outside the house.
Yes.
And then he goes, "Oh my god," and you look and they're inside the house.
Right, they're on the front porch
Are they on the front porch?
or the
That
back
looks like
porch.
they're inside the house
Well
because there's a radiator behind them.
well,
There's an
now
open
she
door that's
when
swinged
she is
open.
in the chair here, that's inside the house, definitely. Well, although I don't know.
They're on the
It
front
could be.
porch when
Yeah,
they're talking about getting out
Vinny
of there.
right, Vinny and Zach are on the front porch.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, you look and see, and these guys are it looks like they have just come through the front door
Yeah.
into the house.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily make sense because it looked like
Right.
Vinny and Zach were on the front porch. Although I will say this, in that scene with the guys, if this is inside, what are these 2 lights in the corner? That would be something that you would have lighting a porch.
Yes, I did
That
notice that too.
those look like external lights.
Yeah.
But the door that you can kind of see between the
Mhm.
2
It's
guys here
swinging in. Yeah.
is swinging and you've got this like a corner of a door here on the other side
Mhm.
looking into a room with a table and a lamp here.
Yep.
So it's kind of and maybe a baseboard heater here at the bottom
Yeah.
of that page too.
Yeah.
It's kind of confusing necessarily where they are, because if they on the previous panel, if they're on the front porch, the way they're facing, these dudes are coming at them from the street
Mhm.
in order for this with the house behind them and
Yep.
facing out. Now, if they are in a glassed in Four Seasons porch,
Mhm.
then it's possible they have come through the door.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'm not sure why they wouldn't have been seen, because in a Four Seasons porch, you're going to have more windows than
Yeah.
anything else. So that, yeah. So I'm
I
kind of
I feel like
confused with the
someone
setting.
drew a page that was really cool looking, and they were like, "Oh, it'd be really good if we could throw this in the book." And
Maybe, yeah,
and
maybe so.
that's kinda how it happened, because I'm looking too much into it, I know. But it was just one of those things. We're
Well,
sitting here talking, and I'm like looking like, wait a second, they're outside when all of this starts to happen.
mhm.
So that's that's a little that's a it's a hindrance when it comes to storytelling, because
Well,
I don't want to have to think of that.
right.
Like
It
it
would be
should
a
be very
question for the artist. Where is this taking place?
yeah,
The,
exactly.
walk me through the last 2 pages of this story, because I
Yeah,
get kind of lost what you're wanting to tell me, what you're wanting me to see.
yeah.
Right. So, um, now this art leans a little bit more towards the realistic
Hmm.
than what Sniper and Rook, but realistic in a at times scratchier, linier, less defined kind of way
Yeah.
for backgrounds. Now, for the foreground, again, the art is perfectly serviceable. You can tell all the characters apart. There's
Hmm.
different types of people, different forms, different races. Interestingly enough, to be half siblings, the skin colors of these two are completely different. So I'm not sure why, but
Yeah.
they are. So um, I, d- I don't I really don't have too much more to add.
Yeah.
And actually, the mother, uh, her mother was very light skinned, more like Zach than her.
No. Well,
Oh no, this is
that's her mother, yeah, and that's not his mother.
right, which would mean that the father was dark skinned.
No, 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 no. Her mother is dark skinned for sure. The pages I'm looking at.
Oh, okay. Who? Oh, I'm looking at the next door neighbor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, you're looking. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I was
Yeah,
looking at the next door neighbor. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, no, her mother is dark skinned.
yeah,
And Zach's mother, I guess, was light skinned, or his father was light skinned, and that's
yeah,
where Zach got it from.
yeah.
And the only reason that I notice things like that, and I have that kind of question, is because by training I'm a biologist. So
Mhm.
automatically the genetics necessary is what pops into my mind,
Yeah,
trying to figure out how it would work.
yeah.
She's darker skinned, he's light skinned. Her mother is darker skinned. Well, that automatically means that the father cannot be darker skinned,
Right.
or can he? I guess he could be if the mother was light skinned and
Yes.
Zach's traits are from the mother's side. So, and that's why I just I'm trying to do that calculation. I do the same thing whenever I see eye colors,
Right.
because genetically certain eye colors are only possible by certain combinations. And
So what Ed's trying to
so
say is, if you ever see him in public and he's just staring at your face,
yes, it
that's
is not. I'm
he's
not racist.
processing.
I'm not any of these. I'm trying to figure out the behind the scenes. That's
He's like, I
you
want
know
to know your origin, and I
it,
will
in
gonna
in a
figure it out.
scientific way, yeah,
Yes.
not remotely having to do with anything sociological.
Not in
I
a
could care less about that.
malevolent.
Malevolent?
Yes, I couldn't say the word for some reason.
But yeah, yeah, automatically, the biologist in me just kicks in, and it's like, well, let's see. To be like that, it could be
Hmm.
A or it could be B, or I wonder which one it is. A is more likely, but then B is, yeah, just so.
And then the whole time he's just staring at you.
Yeah,
All
I'm
that's
just
going
looking
on
at you.
in his
I'm
head.
watching you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Like,
wow,
what's
yeah.
dude, dude,
That
dude.
I don't mean anything harsh by it. It is perfectly innocent. Um,
Alright, so what you got
I
next?
I
Oh,
did
sorry.
notice that she was wearing a Chucky doll early in the book, and I was just wondering why a Chucky.
Oh,
t-shirt.
yeah, she is. I
You
didn't
know,
even notice that. You're
that's
right.
kind of extreme for a very small child, I
That's
thought, to be wearing, and I'm wondering if that has something to do with her powers and the perception of her powers.
I don't know.
Is it? But yeah, it's like she's very, very young, and she likes Chucky, a
Sure.
demonically possessed doll. Okay, it's possible, sure. Once again, I'm thinking in the background, how does that work? What is yeah, so okay. The next book I have up is Steam Patriots.
Hmm. Let's see if I can pull that up while you're talking.
Okay. We have this is created by Scott Wakefield and Rory Boyle, excuse me. It's written by Scott Wakefield, illustrated by David Mims, colored and lettered by Dan Hosick, with a special thanks to AJ Cassetta. We have one, two, three covers apparently, an A, a B, and a Kickstarter. Now, this is an American steampunk revolution is one of the bylines here on the credits page, and basically that is as good a descriptor of the book as you can come up with. It is early in the what will become the Revolutionary War. I don't know if the quote unquote war has been declared yet. Um, this is quasi, I think, it put me in mind of the ride of Paul Revere, and he is riding to tell them that they are cometh by sea. If you remember that, whatever it
Mhm.
was, poem or song or both. Except that this messenger is driving a steam powered carriage pulled by steam powered horses. And that is how he is delivering the message as he approaches the old Howard House, which I would assume, given that name, must be a carriage waypoint where the passengers, the visitors to this town would get out, and this is perhaps where they would stay. This is the um, and there's an old west term for it that just isn't coming to mind, but it's where they would be discharged from the carriage and stay until they got their bearings or whatever, waited for the next coach or whatever they were going to do. We have a dad and his son who are our protagonists, and for the life of me, I can't remember names, which are
The boy is Felix?
okay, are probably given later in the story is why. If names aren't thrown out to begin with, for me, they kind of get buried as I'm
Yeah.
starting to process the other aspects of the story. So it's difficult for me to keep those things at the top of the list unless they start out there as as I
Well, and
make
it's
my
also
list of things.
a son usually doesn't call their dad by their first name,
True, yeah.
usually, so
It's got to be another adult interaction that
yeah.
um so we are told that we are at Long Island, New York in August of 1776, the dawn of that day. Now, where August 1776 falls into the real life American Revolution, I'm not sure. The year I'm familiar with, but the exact month of August and Long Island, I don't know how that plays out, if it's truthful or if it's entirely fiction for the book, but that's where we are. So the British are landing. It is a steampunk world, and Felix and his dad are hiding, or working towards hiding. We find out that Felix has a brother, Isaiah, and he is part of the, I would assume, the Minutemen,
Yeah.
who are countering the British as they are coming ashore. Um, Benjamin Franklin plays a very pivotal part in this book. Also, let me look here. Was this another one that had other? Nope. This is an only issue as far as I could tell from what they've done. So, if there is further story, it has yet to be put into this format.
Mm.
Maybe the next Kickstarter will have that. I don't know. There's so many books of the uh, ones that Roland gave us. One, two, three, four, five. So roughly a third have subsequent issues.
Yeah.
Everything else is a first issue. So there's plenty of stories to continue in upcoming Kickstarters should they choose
Hmm.
to do that, that they can choose from. Now, at this point, I I became very confused with this story for this essentially the middle part. We find out that Isaiah is his brother. Now, this Chris, the next page after Isaiah is mentioned,
Hmm.
all of these word balloons and all of these things that are I got lost. I don't know what all of this means. Are these? I I Is he hearing this?
He's hearing all that coming from downstairs.
Is that what
I
it
had
is?
to go. I had to go back or he's hearing all of this commotion coming from somewhere else in the house.
Okay, why did he drop his suitcase? I mean, he's filling a suitcase to go somewhere, and then what? He just knocks it off the table. Is that what happens?
I
Or
think that the whole sequence is a little confusing. I got the word balloons and everything from once I got to the next page and realized, oh, his dad is being taken prisoner. Um, but yeah, I don't quite get why everything,
okay, yeah,
and other than he knocked it off because he was afraid because the general comes in and says, "I'm General Howe," and maybe that startled him or something like that. I don't. Other than
okay,
that, yeah, I couldn't place why why everything just went
okay.
everywhere.
So we'll move past that particular page
Yeah.
that to me didn't make sense, but for Chris it seemed to make sense. So
Well, I
maybe
mean, the
for others,
dialogue,
maybe
yes.
me, uh,
It's. I felt like I had to work hard to
um,
come to that conclusion.
once upon a time, I maybe would be offended by people talking about thumbtack and sharpness and myself, but currently, I fully accept that my thumbtack has become unsharpened recently. So it's yeah, I um, so the British at some point in the future now are at Felix's house, and they're wanting to take his dad prisoner. A friend of the household, whom I don't believe we saw yet. He wasn't anybody, when they were outside at the store, whatever, was he?
No, no.
So, someone, uh, who knows this family and knows Ben Franklin, who this family is attached to,
Mhm.
says that he can help the British do what they wanna do in an effort to keep them from either capturing or killing his friend, Felix's dad, whose house the British soldiers are in.
Mhm.
And so he is giving this friend of the family is giving something away that Felix doesn't agree with. Felix also
No.
has knowledge of
Yeah,
this,
not at all. He
and
was
and
like,
he
"Nope."
he runs with his knowledge. And so immediately the soldiers turn their attention to the boy Felix because he ultimately has apparently what they are looking for, even though they hadn't necessarily said that. Um, Although the friend reading his verbiage indicated that, but we didn't see that from the soldiers.
Mhm.
So now they're chasing after Felix. He runs away, goes outside, thought he was gonna go hide in the barn, but in running around, he finds a way to hide, in essence, the knowledge that he has with the idea that that knowledge he also has in his head. So
Yeah.
he had, material evidence of the knowledge, which he does away with because he commits the knowledge to memory. So now he becomes what they are looking for, the British soldiers. He continues to run. He does manage to hide until, well, no, again, here where I got kind of thrown off the bat. We refer back to as he is in the process of running, some events that happened in the past before anything in the book
Mhm.
in the past. And it is the story of how Felix and his father came by the information that the British soldiers are currently looking for. So it's a flashback to the here's and whys. Ultimately, the boy hooks up with some, I think, in essence, Minutemen who are fighting the fight. He's asking for someone who knows someone who ultimately can get him to General George Washington, because the information that Felix has is information that General Washington will be able to put to good use in defending the country against the British.
Hmm.
To the extent that Felix silenced Do Good, is that a nom de plume that Ben Franklin wrote under?
I don't know.
Did he write letters or
Oh, he wrote tons of letters.
well, but I'm under that name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Do
Yeah.
Good, like, are there Do Good letters, or did he write a series of books under that name or something? But so, anyways, that is like the code word for Ben Franklin, because Ben Franklin is in hiding right now. Ultimately, Felix finds him. Franklin is trying to put
Yes.
this
Do Good was the pen name used by Ben Franklin to get his work published in the New England Courant, a
okay.
newspaper founded and published by his brother James Franklin.
So I guess he didn't want to use Ben Franklin, or he couldn't, or what. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought Do Good was jogged my memory. I don't have very many of them right now, but some of them do pop
But
up on
that's an
occasion.
interesting one to still have, though. So.
Sorry, yeah, I don't know. I have no control over the whys. I just it either does or it doesn't. I can't explain it. I'm sure it causes my wife no small amount of consternation what it is I choose to remember and not. Yeah, it's not up to me. I would remember it all if I could, believe me. Um, so ultimately, the knowledge that the boy has, he gets to Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin can put it to good use to make something that George Washington can use to defend the country against this British invasion during the American Revolution. The family friend also is walking the same path for the British as far as this information that Felix. It is weird at times. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I do the best I can. Um, Felix has this information and he's giving it to Ben Franklin to be used for the American side of the revolution. Felix's friend of the family is also trying to use this information to help the British, which, after Felix has run away and whatever they've done with the father, why this friend of the family would still choose to help the British, I am confused on. But that's what he's trying to do. So, same information. The Americans are trying to use it. The British are trying to use it. Steampunk American Revolution, Ben Franklin, George Washington. There we go. There's your elevator pitch.
It's an interesting issue for to say the least. I do really like the art in it.
Okay.
It's like it's got a familiar feel to it that I vaguely remember a couple different artists that sort of have this style. But it's still very unique, to itself. Um I couldn't name somebody off the top of my head, that I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's just like so and so."
Right. So and so is like that.
Which is
Yeah.
great because I live for those moments. I read a comic that I see, art that I can't say oh, he looks like him, or I can see, it's one of those things you can kind of feel the influence of somebody, but it's not, I don't know. But it's a very, like, is it the same? Let's see. I'm gonna look at the credits real quick because I can't remember who. Yeah, so David Mims, David Sims, David Mims, does both the pencil and the inking on this, as well as, well, no, because Dan Host does the coloring, but so the line work, pencil and inks, is done by the same person, um, and you can kind of, like, the line work of it is very, it's a very narrow line, line stroke that he's got going on here, which is nice, because it gives an opportunity for the colorist to sort of really sort of fill in the blank. Um, but I really do like the style. It's got a Ashley Woods' name keeps popping up in my head. It's not anywhere. It's like maybe a dash of Ashley Woods, you know, and your microphone's muted. There, Ed. There you
That would be a closer description
go.
than a, um, Jim Lee or a John Byrne or
Oh, for sure.
some,
Yeah.
now, yeah, like you said, this and Ashley Wood side by side, no, they would be completely different.
Yeah.
But just trying to give a throw out idea of what it's like.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
that's all I'm trying to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ashley Wood, and you're right. Beyond Ashley Wood, it's like, well, it's kind of, yeah, I don't
Yeah. I
know.
mean,
It's yeah,
yeah, I could definitely I could give you a list of about 10 different artists. If you put them all together in a blender, you might
throw
come
up
up
the
with
cover.
this. Oh, yeah, I did that, threw that up there a little bit
Oh,
ago.
did you? Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. No, no,
I'm
you're fine. I'll throw it
I'm
back up.
focusing here on the book, and I didn't see that you had done that. I
Yeah.
apologize.
No, you're doing your job. So,
Doug, no, I'm not really dropping knowledge. I'm just spitting in a bucket, dog, as stuff comes to mind, and I'm hoping that it's somehow applicable. I don't know.
so, so,
Yeah, the faces really is what got me. I mean, they're
yeah.
different, but the artwork, the line work is very unique. I wonder, since he did both the same
And this is a
artist,
really good page right here. The
I
line work
wonder
I
how
think is
much of
really
what
good.
we see is his pencils or how much we're seeing is actually his ink work,
I
because
I don't
he
know.
would know where he was going. He wouldn't have to pencil
Yeah.
except for what the pencil could be a smaller part of the overall art, because if he's doing the inking, then he knows, right?
Yeah.
So it's but yeah, plenty of space for definition by coloring.
Mhm.
But it's a very thin line, but it's not a hyper detailed kind of artwork, but
Yeah.
there is plenty of detail to where you don't get lost. You don't
Yeah.
wind up not knowing what is occurring in that particular panel. Good panel choice varies the number of panels on a page.
Mhm.
It's a good, I think, grasp of storytelling via the art. And
Mhm. I
actually, I
agree.
think you could probably take out a lot of the uh, verbiage, and the artwork would tell a lot of the story in this issue
Mhm.
just by
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. I definitely dig it. And it's more sort of in the direction of the art style that I enjoy,
Okay.
in comics in general. Um, sort of, not this very specifically, but more sort of off the beaten path kind of look. I don't like house styles. I'm a huge fan of Jim Lee, but at the same time, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not a. I don't like,
House
all of my
style.
books looking the same. I want, like, I'm a huge Riley Rossimo fan, and so anything that is sort of, Chris, Bucklow and Scotty Young, those kind of, like, just totally off the wall kind of art styles, I really dig. And so this, while not in any stretch of, like an extreme that, like Scotty Young is, but it definitely has a very unique, sort of sketchy style that I dig. So,
Jay Lee.
oh, Jay Lee, yeah, for sure.
How about as
Hmm.
far as this artwork being
That's a
more
good,
towards that? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. That's.
that's good.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking. What was it? Youngblood Strike File.
Oh
Right?
yeah, I
Did
was
he do
thinking
that?
of
That's
Dark World or
okay.
Dark
Yeah.
Tower. I
That's
mean, yeah.
and Ashley Wood. I think it would be more of the those robot
Yep,
stories Ashley Wood did than
that's
a
what I was
lot of
thinking
the
of.
more modern. Did he do the Viking book for Dark Horse?
No, that was Ivan Brandon.
Okay. Okay.
But or at least I know he wrote it. Um,
But
I
yeah,
only say that because those issues are over
okay.
there. I
I
just
think
looked
some
at
of
them the other day.
the more modern Ashley Wood isn't quite like that fantastic robot stuff that he
Yeah,
did. I
yeah,
can't think of that title that comes to mind. I just remember that being what it was about.
yeah, like cheerleaders, robot zombies, or something like that.
Something like that.
Something
Yeah.
weird. Yeah, but I know
But
what
yeah,
you're talking about. Yeah,
Jay Lee, Ashley Wood. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Jay Lee's a good, yeah, good comparison.
Um,
So,
Switchblade is the book that I have up here, and
okay,
let me get down here. And this one is actually written for us by Mr. Roland Mann,
cool,
the EIC of Silverline himself, penciled by Leonard Kirk. Maybe a name some of those out there recognize.
nice.
Colored by Aidan Belcher, lettered by Brad Thom. I apologize, Brad, if I missed that. I see the T and the E at the end, and they confuse me. So if if I'm gonna miss, I'll miss with Thom, and hopefully that's kind of close.
Yep.
Inkers David Rowe and Chuck Bordell, about two-thirds and one-third. Uh, Again, an A, a B, and a Kickstarter, which seems to be Silverline's standard pattern for covers. So
Yeah.
I like that they have a method, you know, as opposed to say someone like a Brian Polito that throws out a new cover every week on his things. They're just
I
it
do
goes.
want to point out here on the thank you page, Mike and Barb Myers.
Oh, hey, hey,
I noticed that when we were
and
looking
he's not
through.
listening tonight. Too bad.
Oh, I know. So I was like, so there's that. I always, anytime a book, Steve Bryant, um, anytime I
That is the creator
see,
of Athena Voltaire, by the way, guys.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I should have pointed that out. Everyone should know who Steve Bryant
Hmm.
is. That was kind of why I said it the way I did.
They,
Uh,
you're right. They should.
But, yeah, I always look at the supporter page. I used to sort of like kinda like, "Why would you put a support," like, I totally get it why you would, but at the same time, like, who's gonna look at that page? And I find
And
myself looking
and
at
so,
that
what are you
page,
doing? Yeah, there you go.
and I'm
Do I
like,
know anybody?
"Do I know that guy?" Like,
Uh-huh.
I know Kaplan here, I know, Vito, I know him, um, I know Walt Keelan, so it's some of these names I know them primarily from Twitter or something like that, it's not like I know them personally,
Right.
but I
Yeah, you'll
recognize names.
find, and I think it's getting to be more and more now, that creator supports creator,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
it's even getting to the point now where a lot of the stretch goals are digital comics from other creators.
Mhm.
It's a pack. For this
Yep.
stretch goal, you get a pack of 10 PDFs that I'll send you, and each one is a different creator, not associated with that Kickstarter, but chances are most, if not all of them, have kickstarted things, and this is the product that they kickstarted. So
Yep.
there's getting to be a lot of creative, not in a bad way, but creative inbreeding that they're doing. They're
Yeah.
helping each other out, and I like that. It's Kickstarter, rather than almost expanding outward, now has done that, but now they're starting to send those feelers in and help each other to
Mhm.
close up that biosphere that was created with Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, it'll form a nice little world of its own,
Yeah.
Kickstarter, and it won't be just this open-ended thing. You'll still have the berserkers and the booms and
Oh,
the
for sure.
other trades that other companies are doing. Apparently, it's a successful way of doing that. Which, by the way, I still don't have my second Berserker trade. There's only 2 issues left. Just throwing that out there. I think it's on
Wow.
the way now, but that's kind of bugging me. Sorry, Boom. Uh, I talk about Boom a lot, but this is also me saying they're not perfect.
Well, of course.
Okay, but they're close.
They're really
They
close,
they do a lot more that I like than don't like.
right, yeah.
And it's funny. It seems to be when they do a lot of newer things or they stretch themselves, those are the things that are more likely to not really sit with me than just the normal comic booky stuff. I
Mhm.
think they do it right. When they go out there, it's like, why? What is that? So, anyways, let's see. Let me refresh myself here. Switchblade. Okay. The interesting thing about Switchblade is that, um, yeah, throughout the entire book, he is a known quantity as far as Switchblade face because he has been doing things to help Nolans, which is where this is set, and he doesn't uh, disguise his person. He just goes out there and does crap because he can,
Mhm.
and he even in his neighborhood, they even tell him when there are references to Switchblade, "Oh, dude, they were talking about you," on the news. Uh, whenever he's a wannabe prize fighter, boxing, and so his world is basically the gym that he has been around his whole life, that he works out at. That's where most of his friends are from. The promoters and the trainers and the other people coming up, the other athletes like him. Everybody knows that he is Switchblade. References external are to this person called Switchblade, and they all know and tell him, hey, you're in the news. I was reading the paper about you. So to me, that's kind of interesting because, as far as, of course, any type of superheroing goes, that is anathema. That you don't do that because
Right, yeah.
it puts that whole aspect of your world in jeopardy, or that whole world in jeopardy. But he is known, and he's very street level. He doesn't appear to have any superpowers. He's trying to do good for the city of New Orleans. We all know him because he's their native son. Oh no, sorry, right? That's a song lyric, I think. Okay. Anyways, um, basically, this is a what it's a build up to, like, his origin as the uh, masked and uniformed Switchblade,
Mhm.
because the uniform does show up in the story. It's given to him by his trainer to try to help him divert attention because Switchblade is getting to be more and more known, the name. And so, if it's common knowledge who that name is attached to, then it will come back to him. And the trainer is like, well, at some point that's not going to be good for you, probably not healthy for you.
Yeah.
You need to think about that. And you need to hide that. And he's like, why? Okay, it's one of those things
You
where it's
don't
like,
get it, yeah.
yeah, it's like, if I have to explain this, dog, it's not, yeah, okay.
Right.
So, um, there is, it turns out, kind of a conspiracy in the story that he becomes a part of, on the as far as the conspiracy is concerned,
Mhm.
on the wrong side of it. But there is a little bit of conspiracy that starts going on. I suspect that it's going to have something to do with a new kid in the gym.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because this new kid is drawing a lot of attention because of his ability. And I also kind of got the feeling that, um, Switchblade is kind of, not that he wants to be, but everybody else in the gym kind of looks at him as the alpha, is kind of what I, um, what I took. He is the one that everybody is uh, has put their hopes on to elevate the gym, and the son of the neighborhood that will be able to elevate the most and be the most
Mhm.
successful. So he seems to be the alpha in that way, not in that he comes in and lords it over anybody or anything, not that kind of alpha.
Yeah.
Just the um, acknowledged alpha because of what he is rather than what he does.
Mhm.
But lo and behold, there's this new kid that is looking as good as he is, perhaps at an earlier stage in what the gym is seeing, if not just an earlier stage of his training, just outright. So he'll be advancing faster than what Switchblade did. Um, at times, you get kind of a Rocky vibe between Switchblade and his trainer, and
Yeah.
Rocky and yeah, the actor's name escaped me, but
Mickey?
we yeah, well, that was the character's name. What was the Burgess
Oh,
Burgess
Burgess
Meredith.
Burgess Meredith.
Yeah, except that Switchblade's trainer is black, and
Yep.
of course we know that Burgess Meredith was not.
No.
Being the way that he was, I don't think a black man could have pulled off that style of character that Burgess Meredith did.
Uh,
That old
yeah.
gruff, kind of nasty, dirty talking uh, white European. I mean, that's old school white European. That was his whole shtick. I think
Yep.
if they'd have, if they'd have chosen a black actor, it would have been a completely different character. I think, but maybe I'm wrong. Whatever. I told you my thumbtacks are not uh, very sharp anymore. Um, the police are starting to, given some other things that are happening in the city, involving Switchblade, but then just because of things getting bad, and Switchblade seems to be involved in that. They're starting to be a little bit more leery of this Switchblade person. They haven't necessarily looked into it enough to make the connection between who Switchblade is. Um, that seems to be more a community driven knowledge, not a the man knowledge. So the man doesn't necessarily know yet, but it's pretty common knowledge on the street. But they're starting to uh, look a little bit more closely to find out who this Switchblade person is, because he seems to pop up a lot in things that the police are involved in now. Things are starting to occur a lot more frequently on the streets that the police are getting involved in. So they're running into that name more and more. Um, I think that's probably as much of a generic reference as the
Mm.
story has. Uh, it is kind of interesting not having dates when this was published. There is an allusion in here to a potentially homosexual character, or at the very least, a someone more gender fluid, which um, still doesn't necessarily come up uh, casually. There you go, Chris, on the chat.
Um,
Unless some, watch out, Doug. Unless someone specifically is wanting to cast a light on those kind of characters. So it was kind of thrown out there, and our character was like, "Huh? Well, is he? What do you think? Well, I don't know. Huh?" And then they just go about their, you know, the rest of the story.
yeah.
So let me look here. Switchblade. Yep, this is the only issue on Indie Planet for this as well. Um, so I'm not sure if that is going to be, something that is explored, or if not, then I would immediately have to ask, well, why is it thrown in there if it's not going to be used? You know.
Yeah.
So um, uh, art wise, we've talked a lot about the art today. Actually, in my mind, this art kind of falls in between Sniper and Rook and Steam Patriots,
Yeah.
as far as the style, realism, level of detail. We do see all different types of body shapes, character shades, everything like that. So it's very much a more real world kind of depiction.
Mhm.
Still, there even in this story, there were a lot of non uh, colored people. Um, Still a very high percentage of Caucasian, but I don't know. Perhaps that is the segment of the world that the creators live in. So that's what they see when they look out their window. I don't know. You know, um, I don't see any reason in any of these stories why there couldn't be any race or actually any gender portrayed to move the story. I don't see anything so far that I would assume has to be specifically a particular gender or race or anything like
Mhm.
that. Religion hasn't really come up in any of these stories. None of them are religious based that we have seen. Now, there is a book called Twilight Grim that definitely kinds of leans a little bit more towards Christianity. Um, of the others, I don't. So, religion hasn't necessarily been a story element. But another book that interested me enough to see what's going on. Very very street level. Again, no superpowers, but mm, he is better than I am. Kind of thing. As
Yeah.
far as reading it, in his abilities, it seems. So, that he would be not necessarily the Batman level, but he is an athlete. He is
Mhm.
pushing to become a prize fighter, so he is in shape. Um, but we didn't see anything where, he fell off a 10-story building and brushed
Right,
himself
yeah,
off and ran away or
yeah.
anything like that. So,
I'm good, thanks.
yeah, yeah. He does seem to be able to throw a knife pretty well. I will say
Yeah,
that.
yeah, there
Uh,
was a couple shots there.
to just be an athlete, it's like, well, that's that hand-eye is not bad there.
Yep.
So
Someone's been playing darts with Ted Lasso,
it's
that's
something, yeah.
for sure, so alright, so, alright, do we got time for one more?
Sure, or I mean, we can just throw out just some real quick.
Well,
Um,
yeah, let's do a couple real quick ones.
okay.
So Cat and Mouse number 1, I thought was an interesting one. Basically, it's a story, or this first issue um, as a cop. He's a young cop. He's got an ex fiance, ex girlfriend. They kind of go back and forth with which relation it is. She's got a missing sister. He goes and finds her. Shortly after he finds her, she goes missing again. He goes to New Orleans because that's where his lead goes to, and then kind of stumbles across a lady who is taking in stray runaway females
Mhm.
and apparently is creating a fighting force of some kind, um,
She
and
is
some other stuff
decidedly
going on.
anti-male.
And
I will
she's
say that.
very anti-male.
She's very much like the woman that was lead of the cult.
Oh, and
Uh,
Maul.
yeah,
Yeah.
that level of disdain of the maleness of the
Yes.
species. Yeah,
So so there's a lot of sort of kung fu, martial arts,
mhm,
and stuff in this, which is a pretty I liked. So the art, much like we've talked about before, is there's a lot of action sequences in this, and the art choreography or fight choreography with the art is very good. So overall, I think it's a pretty good issue, and it's definitely one when I got done reading it I was like, I want to read a little more. This is actually volume 2. So
right.
there's some previous stuff. Didn't you say it was from like the late 90s?
Early 90s. I think
Early
90
90s.
was the
Okay.
first issue came out of Aerosol, which was where they were directly bought by Malibu, I think, and
Yeah.
became an imprint of Malibu.
Yeah.
About 16, 18 issues, something like that, back
Yeah.
in the early 90s.
Yeah. So
Uh,
solid
by
book.
Roland Mand. He
Yes,
wrote
and roll
this and he wrote that too.
yeah.
So
So pretty solid, first issue. So yeah, but like I said, definitely one I was wanting to check out more of when I got to the end of it.
there are two other issues of this on Indie Planet.
I
So
saw that. Yeah.
did you notice the crazy Nolans woman's blue eye?
Yes.
Did you look closely when they got close?
I did one time. It looked sort of starry.
Something. It's not just a blue eye. She
Yes.
has like it's a it's gonna be a device or it's a jewel or I mean it's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
artificial that yeah, it looks like she has a blue and a brown, but when they zoom in, that blue eye is there's something weird about it. It's
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So and she likes to uh, maintain a kind of a Far Eastern motif as far
Yes.
as what she wears and what she does. I don't know if I couldn't tell by the art if she is of that um,
Yeah, I couldn't either.
nationality or not,
Yeah.
but a lot of the extraneous stuff around her gives off that motif of
Yeah.
a far eastern kind of culture. There we
Yeah.
go. There's the
Yeah.
word. Okay, let's see. I'll take a look at this one. Twilight Grim. He is a that's actually his name. Twilight Grim. He is a demon hunter. In this world, he's a vampire hunter. Um, Something has happened, and the vampires are much more prevalent in this world than they, of course, ours, because they do exist. Okay, it's that's not fake. Vampires are here. I'm kidding. I don't know that. Um, and the world is almost it's a combination of a there's a good side and a bad side of the tracks, okay, if you will. But there's also almost this flip side, like the real world or the real world, and then like a fantasy dream world kind of thing going on as well. So the fantastical world that is part of this book exists. The rich people can go to the wrong side of the tracks and play at a vampire owned nightclub and things like that. But there's also this element of a large portion of the good side of the tracks just knows that over there to be the bad side of the tracks. They don't know why. So as far as vampires existing, that's completely alien to them. They have no concept of that. So I found that mix kind of interesting that there are those people that know and interact with this element that other people are completely oblivious exists. Sounds kind of like our world now, but
Mm.
only it has to do with vampires. And our point of view character is a young girl who is an orphan. And so on the good side of the tracks, she becomes such a problem that she is cast out of the good side of the tracks and forced as a human to have to live and exist on the bad side of the tracks, which we come to find out is the vampire world. Vampires stay over there, regular people stay over here, but there is some uh, higher level money mixing between the two. That seems to be what it takes for the one side to interact with the other side. Otherwise, one people stay on their part and the other people stay on their part and they don't mix. Twilight Grim is a regular person who knows all of this about vampires and is trying to take back those sections of the city that are vampire run for regular humans. So he is in the vampire part of the city actively hunting and killing them, uh, also protecting those regular humans that seem to become embroiled in something on the vampire side that is over their head. So he has a sanctuary, which is a church. It is watched over by a priest. He leads humans that find themselves in the vampire part of the city to that church as a safe haven. And I guess because of uh, the religious aspect of the story, the vampires cannot infiltrate the church.
Mhm.
There's some sort of invisible barrier or whatever that they don't if they're chasing somebody and they go in the church, that's it. That's the end of the chase. So that
Yeah.
there is something supernatural there. It's not really gotten into in the story, but I would assume that it has to do with just the mythology of vampires and Christianity and et cetera, et cetera. And this first issue, that's basically what it is. Grimm helps a young lady that finds herself there. She gets to the church. She tells her story. He tells his story. They decide to work together. There is an overarching hero's quest that she wants to partake of, and up to this point, that hero's quest is 3 issues. So this is one of the handful that we've talked about that has continued over on
Yeah.
Indie Planet.
And that's good. I think that's one thing we should definitely remind folks if you're wanting to check out some of this stuff and subsequent issues. I mean, obviously go to silverlinecomics.com. That's the main place. But
Mhm.
yeah, Indie Planet. If you go click on Silverline, if you're at Silverline's website, if you go to buy comic or buy their comics or whatever, it takes you to Indie Planet, and so you can check out all this stuff. So I highly recommend doing that, even if just to try it out. I think there's a lot of good stuff. I do like the fact that, and I know not every Kickstarter does this, but I do like the idea of being able to have a book that's supported by Kickstarter, but then also at some point, once all the Kickstarter backers have their stuff, then allowing the general public, to have have a chance at it as well, because not everybody is on Kickstarter, not everybody is
Right,
following what's going, that kind of stuff,
right.
and I do feel like it sort of limits the comic creators, in their audience. I mean, they obviously would like to sell their books at conventions and on their website and stuff like that. Um, but some folks, like we were talking about, G-Man, they don't,
They
and
maintain an exclusivity via Kickstarter.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's cool as well, and that makes that audience a little more tight knit because of it. I mean, they're anticipating the next Kickstarter, so there's marketing reasons for that as well.
Now, I will say for me, one drawback that I have found with Silverline and Indie Planet is the lack of availability of digital issues for these books.
Hmm.
Now, I understand Indie Planet is a POD, a print on demand
Yeah.
concept. So why would they maintain digital?
Hmm.
I did find a couple books that they had digital of, but not very many. Because I have started reading these books digitally, I would prefer to maintain that.
Sure. Yeah,
Um,
I
I
get that.
I don't like mixing and matching because if I want to
Yeah.
read it, I have to remember, "Oh, did I find these? Or did
Yeah,
I
I
get the
got this over
physical?
here, and then
Is was
yeah,
that?" So if I run into something and start it one way, I like to maintain that.
yeah,
That
for
would
sure.
that would be a question I would have for Roland. Are these subsequent issues, um, obviously, the ones we have are available in digital, duh.
Right.
But are the subsequent issues that I see on Indie Planet, how can we get a hold of those digitally as well? Now, maybe not. You're going to have to charge less for those, so
Yeah,
you're going to make less money on those. Maybe
right.
that's not something that Silverline is wanting to do right now. I,
Yeah.
I, I don't know, but and any other books you want to throw out, or you want to wrap it?
Um, yeah, let's go ahead and wrap things up. I mean,
Okay.
like I said, there's a lot of books, and we'll definitely pick some of these back up in a future episode of the show, because I definitely want to talk about more of 'em. I mean, like I said, there was a slew of them that we had an opportunity to check out. I know you read what, all of them, if not.
All but that he sent. There were 3 that he sent that I didn't read for
Okay,
various reasons.
right.
And then over on Indie Planet, there were 2 that would be available in digital. These are first issues,
Hmm.
in digital, and 3 in, physical form that we didn't get at all. So that's 5. There were also 3 trade paperbacks of volume 1s in
Hmm.
essence. But yeah, there were 5 number 1 issues. So that was like he sent us probably 80% of the first issues that they have produced.
Yeah.
So this was just a profoundly generous set of books that
Oh,
that
for sure.
Roland sent us, as far as what Silverline has done. So I definitely want to say, Roland, if you do listen to this episode, and I hope you do, we'll definitely
Yeah.
let you know that it's out there. Thank you so much. A lot of these books I enjoyed. I didn't
Mhm.
dig all of them, but that's me. It's not that they were bad. There were just one of the 3 books that I didn't read because it just, looking at it, it just was not my bag from the beginning, and there were other books I definitely wanna read, so I just set it aside and focused on those.
Yeah.
I may go back and pick that up, I don't know, but, it didn't grab my eye. Uh, 3 3 out of, like, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
15 books I did read, 3 I didn't. So he sent us 18
Yeah.
first issues. That is awesomely generous. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. And that's like I said, I mean, we only covered what, 6, 7
6.
books? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so many more that we can cover, and so we definitely will. We'll also keep up with future Kickstarters and stuff like that. That Silverline's going to have coming out. And we'll probably reach out to Roland, kind of get an idea of when maybe they've got some plan, just so we can kind of
Mhm.
let all of you who are checking out the show know that as well. So, um, but other than that, yeah. So I guess that'll do it. So come by the website. It is comicaddiction.net. Come by our forums, justanotherfanboy.freeforums.net. Join the conversation there. You can email us at comicaddictionpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to get in touch with us through Twitter, that's usually the best way to do it, either at reply or just DM us. The show is at Comic Addiction. Ed is at Teal Productions. I am at Chris Parton. Like I said, that's the best way to reach out to us to get a more quicker response. If you send us an email, I'm kind of bad about emails lately. I don't know what the deal is, but I just am. So you can also come by. I have too many emails. That's what it is. It's too well, not emails being. I have too many email addresses. That's and so getting them all sorted. Anyway, if you're into Boom Studios like we are, Ed is running the Fans of Boom Studios Facebook page with all the links and the previews and the whatnot over there. So you can definitely join us over there and check it out. Start up some conversation about some of the books that you're reading, some of the
Mhm.
things going on, because we would definitely like to have some conversation over there.
For those that lean that way, we are contemplating starting up a Discord channel too.
Yes.
Just as a heads up, I know there's a lot of uh, varying opinions about the current state of Twitter. And so to, potentially head that off if there becomes an issue, Chris and I are looking at Discord and playing around with perhaps starting a Discord channel as well.
Yeah.
Won't affect what we're doing here now,
No.
but the ability to communicate and how we do that. And, Discord offers up a variety of things that you can do as far as interaction that Twitter does not.
Yeah.
Yeah, Facebook does, but I understand that Facebook is kind of an old man kind of
Yeah.
concept for a lot of folks.
If you are interested in it, I mean, like I said, we haven't done anything. Well, we have the Discord there. It's an old Comic Addiction Discord that I had started way back when and just never did anything with. Um, which is, I think, the way I do most things with social media. I start it so no
Jump
one
and
can
start it and
take
have
it,
it,
and
and
then
then
no
yeah.
one, if you're interested in at least getting an invite or something like that, you can DM me. Like I said, at Chris Parton or at Comic Addiction, and I can send you an invite to it. So then you're right there already in it. I am certain that we will move forward with it. It's just when we do it and how many channels we add to it. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of figuring out. So if you want to be part of that conversation, I mean, we have, obviously with our general channel, we can definitely talk about stuff there and kind of get a feel because the idea behind it would be uh, sort of building up our community. and we definitely have a lot of regulars who come by the chat, who watch the show, who we're interacting with on Twitter and stuff like that. But we felt that Discord would be a really really good place to sort of centralize all of us and do it. But we also do it on the forums too. So
Yeah.
we're not wanting to take anything away from the forums. So it's definitely both places you can be a part of. So obviously go over there, join us on the forums. But like I said, if you want to get an invite to the Discord and sort of be part of that, sort of at the ground floor, being kind of how we build it up, and it definitely will change over time. So it's not like we're going to set anything in stone. So very, very free flowing, much like this episode. But that's it. That's episode 153. Appreciate all of you for checking us out here on YouTube and on the podcast. And I do apologize that the podcast has been getting up later. Actually, I think episode 152 might be up by the time you watch this. It may not be. I don't know how my Libsyn account is doing. But yeah, I'm gonna get that caught up. Like I said, just I my I am a creature of habit, and I like to have things in a certain order. And I have not been, because of the new computer. And I know that sounds like an excuse, but with the new computer and Steven being our new editor, I am not getting him files early enough. I keep forgetting. Oh, I can't do this. I have to send him stuff. So that's not on him. That's definitely on me. And he's doing a good job at getting stuff back to me. It's just I get out of that loop. So I'm gonna get the podcast back up and running as soon as possible. But yeah, so if you're checking out that stuff, cool. Like I said, send us a message and we'll add you to the Discord and all that other cool stuff. That's it. Anything else?
I think that is good.
Cool. All right, sir. Well, I appreciate you as always
Yes, sir.
joining me.
Good
And we
times.
will catch all of you next week for, I don't know what we're going to talk about in 154, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. So we will check all of y'all next time. Goodbye.
Ciao.
4, 3, 2, 1. That's right. And Discord sounds really cool.
All right.
Thanks,
There you go, Doug.
Doug.
He may be
So
our first non Ed or Chris member of the Discord channel.
yeah, if you want to join it and no pressure or anything, I'll go ahead and send you an invite. If you want to DM me your email, I think that's all I need, your email address.
I don't think so.
So yeah, I can do that. If not, no worries. I understand. I don't want to put any pressure on anybody. But yeah, so that'll be cool. So
No, basically, it's the modern version of forums. If you're
mhm.
not familiar with Discord, I mean, that's exactly what Discord is. I don't know why it is popular on forums or not. To me, essentially, it's the same thing. But there you go. I mean,
I don't know. I know. Yeah, I don't know what that reason is. For smaller groups, I get it because there's the audio portion of it.
there is an
Um,
audio ability. Yeah,
and stuff like that. But I'm part of several discords, um,
it's used
and
just like forums, as far as I can
yeah,
tell. I
that's all
mean,
it is. Yeah,
you know, I would imagine back in the day, CGS would have been on a Discord rather than having forums.
for sure.
So
But all right, Doug, you have a good evening. Everybody else who is checking us out still, y'all have a good evening. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.